Imagine being punished for something you didn't do. What if one simple decision changed your life forever? Today's story takes us deep into the heart of forgiveness, patience, and truth, a powerful lesson that reminds us, even when the world is unfair, God sees the truth but waits. Welcome back to MrSam English Tales, where stories come alive with meaning and wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story that inspires the heart and sharpens the mind. In God Sees the Truth But Waits, you will meet Ivan Aksenoff, a merchant who is accused of killing another man. You have probably seen movies and TV programs in which a character is accused of a crime. Pick one movie or program that you found interesting. Tell what happened. Let's learn about literature. The mood of a story is the feeling or atmosphere that the writer creates. For example, if a story is funny and amusing, the mood will be humorous. If a story contains many happy events, the mood will be joyous. When you listen, God Sees the Truth But Waits, you will see that the story is filled with important events and is very thoughtful. Its mood is serious. Let's get into the full story. God Sees the Truth But Waits. Leo Tolstoy, the great Russian writer, was interested in the meaning of life. This story is a good example of his writing. In the town of Vladimir in Russia, there lived a wealthy young merchant named Ivan Aksenoff. He owned 2 shops and a large house. Aksenoff was a handsome, blonde, curly-haired fellow who loved to have fun and was very fond of singing. Years ago, when he was much younger, he sometimes drank too much and got into trouble. But after he got married, he gave up drinking. One summer afternoon, Aksenoff was preparing to go to the fair at Nizhny, where he hoped to sell his merchandise. As he was saying goodbye to his family, his wife said to him, "Ivan, please do not go to the fair today. I dreamed that something bad happened to you there. For my sake, please stay at home." Aksenoff laughed and said, "You know that I have got to go to the fair. What are you afraid of?" His wife replied, "I do not know what I am afraid of. All I know is that I had a bad dream. I dreamed that you were coming home from the fair, and when you took off your cap, I saw that your hair had turned gray." Aksenoff laughed and said, "That means good luck. You'll see, I'll sell everything I bring to the fair, and I'll come home with some wonderful presents for you all." Then Ivan kissed his wife and children, said goodbye, and departed. When he had traveled halfway to Nizhny, he met a merchant he knew, and they stopped at an inn for the night. They discussed business for a while. Then they had some tea together, and each man went to bed in separate rooms. Aksenoff woke up before dawn. Knowing that it would be pleasant to travel while it was still cool, he went to the office and paid his bill. Then he got his horses and continued on his journey. When he had gone about 25 miles, he stopped at another inn and asked to have his horses fed. Aksenoff went out onto the porch, ordered some tea, and took out his guitar and began to play. Suddenly, a carriage with 3 horses came dashing up to the inn. A police officer and 2 soldiers rushed out of the carriage. The officer walked straight up to Aksenoff and began to question him. The officer asked him who he was and where he had come from. Aksenoff answered the officer's questions fully. Then Aksenoff said, "Would you like to have some tea with me?" But the officer ignored this and began to ask him more questions. He asked, "Where did you spend last night? Did you speak to another merchant? Did you see the other merchant this morning?" Why did you leave the inn before dawn?" Aksenoff wondered why the officer was asking him all these questions, but he described in detail everything that had happened. Then he asked, "Why are you cross-examining me as if I were a thief? I am a merchant traveling on business. There is no reason for you to question me." Then the officer said, "I am the chief of police in this district, and I am questioning you because the merchant with whom you had tea last night has been murdered. We must search your things." The soldiers and the chief unstrapped Aksenoff's luggage and began searching through his belongings. Suddenly, the chief pulled a knife out of Aksenoff's things. "Whose knife is this?" the chief demanded. Aksenoff stared, shocked and amazed, at the blood-stained knife that had been taken out of his bag. "And whose blood is on the knife?" the chief of police asked sharply. Aksenoff tried to answer, but he was so frightened he could hardly utter a word. He began to stammer, I do not know. That knife does not belong to me," the chief continued. "The merchant was found dead this morning. He had been stabbed to death in his bed. Now we find this blood-stained knife among your possessions. You are nervous and have a guilty look on your face. Tell me at once how you murdered the merchant and how much money you stole from him." Aksenoff swore that he had not committed the murder and that the knife was not his. He swore that he had not seen the merchant after they drank tea together, and that the only money he had was 8,000 rubles of his own. But Aksenoff's voice kept breaking. His face was very pale, and he shook with fear as though he were guilty. The chief ordered the soldiers to tie up Aksenoff and to put him in the carriage. All of his money and his goods were taken away from him, and he was sent to a nearby town and was thrown into jail. A trial was held, and he was convicted of murdering the merchant and stealing his money. Before we continue, I would like to pause for a second. Now you already know that Aksenoff is convicted of killing a merchant and is thrown into jail. Do you think that Aksenoff or his wife will be able to prove that he is innocent? Or do you think he will spend many years in prison? See if you are right. When Aksenoff's wife heard that her husband was in jail, she did not know what to believe. Her children were all very young. One was still a baby. She took them all with her and went to the town where her husband was in prison. At first, she was not allowed to see Aksenoff, but finally, she was given permission to see him. When she saw him in prison clothes with chains on his feet, she fainted and fell to the floor. After she got up, she gathered her children to her and sat down with them by her husband's side. She told him how things were back home and asked him what had happened. He told her everything that had taken place. Then she asked, "What can we do now?" "We must send a letter to the king," he said. "We must ask him to set me free. Surely they will not let an innocent man be punished." His wife said that she had already sent a petition to the king, and that the king refused to consider his case. Aksenoff did not reply and stared sadly at the floor. Then his wife said, "You remember I dreamed that your hair had turned gray. You remember my dream? Ah, if only you had stayed home that day." Then she said softly, "Ivan, my dear husband, tell me the truth. Did you murder the merchant?" "So you do not believe me either," cried Aksenoff, and covering his face with his hands, he burst into tears. Then a guard came to the cell and said that it was time for his wife and children to leave. So, for the last time, Aksenoff said goodbye to his family. When they were gone, Aksenoff thought about his wife's visit. He remembered that even she suspected him of killing the merchant. Then he said to himself, "It appears that only God knows the truth. God is the one to ask for mercy, and the only one who can give it." Aksenoff was sent to a prison camp in Siberia. For 26 years, he lived there as a convict. The hair on his head turned as white as snow, and his beard grew very long. He walked slowly, seldom spoke, never laughed, and prayed often. Over the years, no news reached Aksenoff from his home. He did not even know if his wife and children were still alive. Then one day, a group of new convicts was brought into the prison. In the evening, the old prisoners gathered around the new ones and asked them where they came from and why they had been sent to the prison camp. Aksenoff sat down near the newcomers and, with his eyes staring at the floor, listened to what they said. One of the new convicts was a tall, strong, and vigorous man who was about 60 years old. "Well, friends," he was saying, "the truth is, I was sent here for nothing. I borrowed a horse that belonged to a friend, but I was arrested and was accused of stealing it. I explained that I took it because I was in a hurry to get home and that I was going to return it later. I kept telling them that the horse belonged to a friend of mine, but they insisted I had stolen it." The man shook his head and smiled. "It's funny," he said, "because once I really did do something that was wrong, but that time they didn't catch me, and now I have been sent here for doing nothing at all. Ah, well, life is hard to explain." "Where are you from?" someone asked. "I come from Vladimir. My name is Makar Semyonich." When he heard that, Aksenoff raised his head and said, "Tell me, Semyonich, do you know anything about a family named Aksenoff? Have you heard of them? They were merchants in Vladimir. Are they still alive? Have I heard of them? Of course I have. The old woman is dead, but the children have worked hard and are rich, though their father is in Siberia. He is a convict like us, it seems. But you, for what crime did they send you here?" Aksenoff did not say anything for a long time. He did not like to speak about his misfortune. He only sighed and said, "I have been in prison for 26 years. But what did you do? What was your crime?" Makar Semyonich asked. Aksenoff was silent and would say no more. But the other convicts told Semyonich why Aksenoff was sent to Siberia. How someone had killed a merchant and had put the knife among Aksenoff's things. When Semyonich heard this, he looked closely at Aksenoff, slapped himself on his knee, and exclaimed, "Well, this is amazing, really remarkable." Then he said softly to himself, "But how old you've become." The other prisoners asked Semyonich why he seemed so surprised, but Semyonich did not answer. Aksenoff wondered whether this man knew who had killed the merchant. So he said, "Semyonich, perhaps you have heard of that crime." "Heard of it? Of course I have heard of it." It was on everyone's lips at the time, but that was long ago, and I don't remember much about it now. "Perhaps you know who really killed the merchant," Aksenoff said slowly. Semyonich laughed and said, "Well, it is obvious that the man who killed him was the man who was found with the bloody knife. Look, how could anyone put a knife into your bag while you were asleep? That would surely have woken you up." When Aksenoff heard these words, he felt certain that this was the man who had killed the merchant. He got up and walked slowly away, and all that night Aksenoff could not sleep. He was extremely unhappy, and he thought about many things. He saw the image of his wife as she was when he left her to go to the fair at Nizhny. He remembered her face and her eyes and her voice. Then he remembered his children, who were very small at that time. And then he remembered himself as he used to be young and happy. He remembered how he had sat on the porch of the inn where they had arrested him, how he had played his guitar, and how cheerful he had been. Then he thought about the trial and about the terrible crime they said he had committed. He remembered the people staring at him and the chains he had worn. He thought about the 26 years he had been in prison and about how old he had become. The thought of it filled him with grief, and it's all his fault, thought Aksenoff. And he was furious at Makar Semyonich and wanted revenge. He could not go near the man. He could not even look at him. One evening, as Aksenoff was wandering sadly around the prison, he noticed some earth on the floor near one of the bunks. As he was staring at it, Makar Semyonich suddenly crawled out from under the bunk and glared up at Aksenoff with a startled look on his face. Before Aksenoff could take another step, Semyonich grabbed him by the arm and told him that he had been digging a tunnel under the wall. Semyonich said that he had been disposing of the earth by putting it into his boots and then emptying it out later on the road when the prisoners were marching to work. "Keep quiet, old man, and I'll get you out of here too," he whispered threateningly. "If you tell them what I've been doing, they'll beat the life out of me. But bear in mind, I'll kill you first," he warned. Aksenoff, filled with rage, looked at his enemy and angrily said, "I have nothing to gain by escaping, and as for killing me, you killed me long ago." Then, pulling his arm fiercely away from Semyonich, Aksenoff walked quickly away. The next day, while the convicts were being taken to work, a guard noticed some fresh earth scattered on the road. The prison was searched, and the tunnel was discovered. The warden arrived and began to question each prisoner to find out who had dug the passage. No one admitted that he had dug the tunnel or accused anyone else of digging it. Finally, the warden came to Aksenoff. "I know that you are a truthful old man," said the warden. "Tell me who dug the tunnel." Makar Semyonich was standing nearby. He tried to appear unconcerned, but his heart was pounding with fear. He did not dare to look at the warden or at Aksenoff. Aksenoff's lips and hands trembled. A long time passed before he could speak. He was thinking, "Why should I protect the man who has ruined my life? I should make him pay, at last, for all my suffering. But if I tell, they'll probably beat him to death. And what difference would that make? What good would that be to me?" "Well, old man," repeated the warden, "tell us the truth. Who dug the tunnel?" Aksenoff glanced at Makar Semyonich and replied, "I cannot say. I cannot say, Your Honor. Do whatever you want with me." And despite all of the warden's threats, Aksenoff said nothing more. As a result, they failed to discover who had dug the tunnel. That night, as Aksenoff was lying on his bunk, someone approached him and sat at his feet. Aksenoff peered through the darkness and recognized Semyonich. "What more do you want of me?" asked Aksenoff. "Why have you come here?" Makar Semyonich was silent, so Aksenoff sat up and said, "What do you want? Go away, or I will call the guard." Makar Semyonich leaned close to Aksenoff and whispered, "Ivan Aksenoff, forgive me." "Forgive you for what?" "It was I who killed the merchant and hid the knife among your things. I was going to kill you too, but I heard a noise outside, so I hid the knife in your bag and escaped through the window." Aksenoff was silent and did not know what to say. Makar Semyonich knelt upon the ground. "Ivan Aksenoff," he said, "forgive me, please forgive me. I will confess that I killed the merchant, and you will be released and can go back to your home." "It is easy for you to say that," said Aksenoff, "but I have suffered for you these 26 years. Where could I go now? My wife is dead, and my children have forgotten me. I have nowhere to go." Makar Semovich bowed his head. "Ivan Aksenoff, forgive me," he cried. "The worst beating they could give me would be easier to take than to look at you now. You had pity on me and did not tell them that I dug the tunnel. Forgive me, please forgive me." And he began to sob. When Aksenoff heard him sobbing, he too began to weep. "God will forgive you," said Aksenoff. At these words, Aksenoff's heart grew light, and he suddenly felt a wonderful peace and freedom in his soul. The next day, Makar Semovich confessed to the crime. But when the order came to release the innocent man, Ivan Aksenoff was already dead. Moral of the story: God sees the truth, but waits teaches us that truth and justice may be delayed, but they can never be destroyed. Sometimes life seems unfair and innocent people suffer, but patience, faith, and forgiveness can bring peace even in the darkest times. Ivan didn't seek revenge, he chose forgiveness, and that made him truly free. Real-life connection. In today's society, we often see people judged too quickly, online, in the media, or even in our communities. Social media can destroy someone's reputation with just one rumor. But like Ivan, we must remember, real justice takes time, and forgiveness heals deeper than punishment. For example, there are stories of people wrongly accused who spend years in prison, yet, when they are released, some of them choose forgiveness instead of anger. They work to help others avoid the same fate. These people are living proof that forgiveness is stronger than hatred, and faith is stronger than fear. For my message to you who are listening this story, have to remember, no matter how long it takes, truth will always come to light. So when life feels unfair, hold on to your integrity, your kindness, and your faith, because God sees the truth, but waits. Thanks for watching MrSam English Tales. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that teach and inspire.